Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today for this important hearing. You've each testified that the rare earth challenge is a really critical one to our national security. Our supply chain vulnerability is core to addressing to keep our country safe, but it's also an extraordinary opportunity that small businesses across our country are seizing, and I'm seeing it all across my home state of New Hampshire. What I'd say is our hearing today, the title of the hearing today, I noticed, Securing America's Mineral Future, Unlocking the Economic Value Beneath Our Feet. The economic value, I think, is more than just beneath our feet. And I saw this firsthand in visiting an extraordinary service-disabled, veteran-owned small business in the Monadnock region of my state that more than 6 years ago predicted that we would have a germanium crisis in this country. Germanium is used, as many of you know, in high-speed computer chips, plastics, and a wide range of military applications, from night vision devices to satellite imagery sensors. My constituents started a company. They self-funded the research and development costs of a cost-effective, eco-friendly germanium recycling effort, and they began production. They've encountered a lot of challenges in getting the support that they need for small businesses to actually tackle this. And I wanted to ask you, Mr. Dowd, can you speak to your experience? I also serve on the Armed Services Committee. And knock on wood, we're going to have a National Defense Authorization Act this year where we have an opportunity to really take a look at ways in which we can improve the way that the Department of Defense does business with small businesses in our country. Can you speak to your experience contracting with the Department of Defense and what challenges you encountered?
Yeah. Our experience with the Department of Defense and specifically receiving funding through the Defense Production Act has really been incredibly positive. I really don't have a negative thing to say about that. I think...
Really?
I can only speak from the award that we are currently in and our experience in receiving that award in the last year.
Dr. Soy, could you tell us a little bit about the challenges you've encountered in contracting with the federal government and getting the kind of investment that small businesses like yours need to bring us to the next generation of recycling critical minerals?
Absolutely. My experience has largely been very positive in applying for funding. I will say there have been a handful of Department of Energy grants that required really an extensive amount of paperwork for small businesses to apply. As an example, I think there was a grant that was for $500,000, which it's a sizable amount of money, but not huge, that I think I ended up writing, 100 pages of content on, economic development. And, $500K for a 3-year grant is not really enough money to have an outsized impact on, your local community. So I think there are ways to streamline grant processes that would make it easier for small businesses to take advantage of them.
Well, we welcome any and all ideas that you have on this front. We're all about cracking down on waste, fraud, and abuse and making it easier for small businesses like yours. I just note that the funding cuts that we've seen across our federal government have made it very difficult for these important programs to reach their intended small business recipients. I want to ask you about the impact of the president's unilateral trade wars, which have impacted 35 of 50 critical minerals, 10 of 16 rare earth elements. You've each spoken to just the time that it takes to build up our domestic manufacturing base. Many on our committee have supported an exemption for small businesses, but I wanted to ask you to the president's unilateral tariffs because they threaten to put so many essential small businesses out of business. I want to ask you about the uncertainty that you're seeing across the industry and the markets and the customers who you work with in this moment of absolute uncertainty for our country.
Yeah, customers, investors, everyone is looking for stability, and these tariffs add uncertainty. One of the big things I have been a little bit insulated because I've been housed at Argonne National Lab, which has been a tremendous opportunity that, it's a very small program. There's maybe 5 innovators per year. It is not a big enough program for many small businesses to benefit from that. If they have to buy their own equipment, I mean, I'm deeply impressed that someone from your state was able to self-fund a recycling project. So I think that is something that we need to work on, is adding that stability.
Thank you. I yield back.
Lady